Across Victoria, drive with Tom Elliott. Call now 13 13 32 or Melbourne 96900 693.
24 to 5. Kelly O'Dwyer and Richard Marles are with me. Kelly, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Tom.
Richard, hello to you.
How are you, Tom?
I'm good, thank you. Now, any questions you like, 96900 693. Secrets of Talkback Radio as well. If you've ever wanted to know how all this works, give me a call. The biggest question people ask is usually about delay. The fact that what we say right now is actually 10 seconds in the future. It's amazing stuff. Now,
should we test it?
No, don't.
What I always wondered is when someone pushes the panic button, how do you realign the 10 seconds?
Yeah.
Well, that's a very interesting question. What happens is it sort of goes through a box and, you know, let's say you said something that you shouldn't, Richard, which I'm sure you wouldn't, but if you did, we can use it up. And the listeners don't hear anything except a bit of a jar in the conversation. Right. But someone counts down in my headphones, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, you're back on.
Is that right?
And the dreadful thing that you said is chopped out of the conversation, but we have to be quick.
So say anything you like about Bill Shorten and it can be cut, Richard.
Yeah. Now speaking of Bill Shorten, on the day that Gough Whitlam died earlier this week, I asked him whether he saw himself as a politician in the Gough Whitlam mould. And he went, oh no, I'm more of a Hawke Keating type of Labor man. Now, is it true that people of the Labor Party still disregard the Whitlam legacy, still are worried about his financial profligacy and want to see themselves as Bob Hawke types, not Gough Whitlam types?
Oh, there you go. So a comparison between the Labor governments of past. Look, I think all of them bring something different to the Australian history and modern Australia now. There's no doubt that the great long-term government that Labor has produced in recent times has been the Hawke Keating government. I think it's also fair to say a lot of the initiatives that were carried through in the Hawke Keating years had their origins in the Whitlam government. And I think you can make an argument. And one of the speakers, actually a Liberal speaker for the condolence motion, made the point that in some respects you might describe the Hawke government as happening because of the Whitlam government. I think that you can make that argument too. Kelly
O'Dwyer, from the Conservative side of politics, how did you see the Whitlam legacy?
Well, look, there's no question that he was a man, you know, who was much admired for his passion. I think, though, his legacy is a very mixed one. Certainly, I know that those in Labor spoke very movingly, as did Tony Abbott and others, of the fact that he did change Australia and he made some important contributions to our legacy, such as the recognition of Indigenous land rights, such as the change in no-fault divorce in 1975. I think these are all great things. But I think we can't ignore the fact that
is there really such a thing as no-fault divorce? I mean, most of the divorces I've seen, there was usually a fair bit of fault lying around.
Well, in order to get a divorce, you actually used to have to actually get the courts to rule on whether or not you could be granted one based on whether or not you had been abandoned.
Yeah, so men would go and deliberately go and, like, you know, have themselves photographed in bed with a prostitute or something, and then say, "Look, I've been unfaithful. Please, will you allow me to divorce my wife?"
Well, I've got to say I'm pleased that era is over, and I think we can actually thank Gough Whitlam for that. But what I would say is the economic legacy is a terrible one, which is why, of course, Richard didn't defend it. It was a government, you know, marked by chaos and dysfunction. It was a government where we, for the first time, saw government spending absolutely get out of control, and that is, I think, a real legacy that the Gough Whitlam years left to us.
Just on the economics, hear all that. Tariff reductions began under Whitlam. It's absolutely right to say that in terms of the process of opening up the Australian economy, which has been critical to an economy which survived the Asian financial crisis, the global financial crisis, that you can trace the beginnings of that to Whitlam. And I think he doesn't get the credit for that. The other thing is trade practices.
Inflation. We also saw inflation skyrocket. We also saw no. But you can't whitewash it, Richard. Inflation skyrocketed. Unemployment doubled in the space of 1 year. I mean, this was a really dysfunctional government. And when the Australian people had the chance to actually rule on that government, they tossed them out.
Can I ask the two of you, one of the things, and I like watching it, and I love the fact that we replayed it early in the week, was the Whitlam campaign song, It's Time. They got Patti Smith, and they got all these...
Great song.
Now, why don't we do something like that these days? Why don't either of you, I don't know if you're going to be in charge of the next campaign, but why don't you get, you know, a catchy tune? Because I tell you, people pay attention to that sort of stuff.
We need more razzmatazz, is that what you're saying?
Well, trust me.
Well, they say politics is for ugly people.
Kelly and I are not about to do a duet, I can assure you of that. What did you just say then? The politics is for ugly people?
Well, that's right. right, and so of course it doesn't attract.
No, Mark Latham says that every week. He says politics is showbiz for ugly people.
Right, I see.
You two are obviously the exception. But why don't you get a groovy campaign tune? Just one that people remember. It's time.
I think the problem is, Tom, that a lot of the time when these campaigns are put together is that people actually think that the campaign theme is in fact groovy, but it's slightly less groovy than they think.
Yeah, I mean, look, it was the great slogan of all time, really.
What about Lead On Liberal in the early 80s? That was Malcolm Fraser's last one, I think, in 83. That didn't work so well for him then, but it worked the two elections before.
I was going to say, it worked before then.
But he didn't change it. Now, another question I have for the two of you. I had a regular caller yesterday, Alan, who rings up. He hates pretty much everything I say, but he keeps calling up, so that's good. Hello, Alan, if you're listening. He said that Rupert Murdoch is the person who picks each Prime Minister, both here and in the UK. I disagree with that. But anyway, there's been speculation around this week, Kelly, that Julie Bishop might be the next Liberal Prime Minister. Your comments?
Well, if it's Julie Bishop as the next Liberal Prime Minister, once, of course, Tony Abbott has served as long as we hope he will serve, then I would be absolutely thrilled by that. I think Julie Bishop is a wonderful adornment to our Parliament. I think Julie Bishop has been doing a fantastic job as Foreign Minister, and I think, that there would probably be no better option than somebody like Julie Bishop when the time comes.
Gee, that's a good answer.
I've
been answering that kind of question over the last 6 years as to who was going to be the next Labor Prime Minister.
Who do you think will be the next Labor Prime Minister?
Oh, that's an easy question. Bill.
Oh, really? Seriously, Richard?
No, I think Bill will. I know that you'd prefer that it was a more complicated question than that, but the reality is we're very much in the hunt, and I think Bill's a real shot.
96900 693. Questions for Kelly O'Dwyer and Richard Marles. 13 13 32. Calls coming up at 17 to 5.
Neil Mitchell.
Now, at this very moment, Tony Abbott is on the phone to the Canadian Prime Minister, Stephen Harper. As soon as that telephone call finishes, Tony Abbott will ring through to this studio to talk to me, to talk to you.
Talks to the decision makers.
Tony Abbott, good morning.
Neil, good morning.
What are the lessons out of this for Australia? Because we're similar in so many ways. Even our involvement against ISIS is similar.
Well, the lessons are that we must be constantly vigilant.
Neil Mitchell, back Monday 8:30. Melbourne's own 3AW.
Hi, Rob Sinclair from E&S Trading. Our massive white goods sale is on now. Hurry in for cracking deals on selected fridges, dishwashers, washing machines, dryers and more. Sale ends October 30. Visit estrading.com.au.
There's lots of things to consider when looking to buy in a new area. Property prices, restaurants, good schools, public transport, and there's one place you can get all the information you need. reviewproperty.com.au. With the latest property listings, real estate news, suburb profiles and more, you'll feel like a local in no time. Check out reviewproperty.com.au for auction results as they happen. Take a good look around your new suburb at reviewproperty.com.au.
Ever been the one who has to organise a funeral? At a time of grief, you may not feel confident that you're choosing the right funeral company and getting the best value for money. Actually, it's simple. Simplicity Funerals is the name known for good value. They keep it simple to keep the price down, yet you still get a perfectly dignified funeral your family will be proud of. Simplicity Funerals, simply a sensible solution for an affordable funeral. 9568 7590.
Bank of Melbourne presents Rules of the Melbourne Property Game. Number 16. There's no bad auction weather. Just inappropriate clothing. For more, search Property Game.
This November, Rugby League's Four Nations comes to Melbourne. Unbelievable! Get your tickets to Amy Park and witness two of Rugby League's greatest teams clash in one blockbuster event. Our Holden Kangaroos are set to take on England. Tickets from just $30 for adults, $75 for families. Magnificent! Four Nations Rugby League, Holden Kangaroos versus England, Sunday, November 2. Tickets from Ticketek now. Who do you stand for?
It's the Toyota dealer's big spring clean-up. Clean up on a new Toyota during October, like the RAV4 two-wheel drive 2-litre petrol GX Auto with 7 SRS airbags, only $31,990 drive away. Or the Hilux 4x4 SR5 double cab pickup manual with 3-litre turbo diesel engine, only $48,990 drive away. Spring clean-up deals this month at your local Toyota dealer. Offer available for vehicles purchased and delivered by 31st October at participating Toyota dealers while stocks last. Recommended drive-away price includes 12 months registration, 12 months compulsory third-party insurance, dealer delivery and stamp duty.
Hey, Curtis Stone here. The weather's warming up, which means it's the perfect time for delicious, creamy Aussie avocados.
Australian-grown Hass avocados too, for just $3.50.
Aussie avocados, in season, in abundance, and in Coles right now.
On 9 News, a thrill killer sentenced over a couple's savage murder, a devastated family's plea for an end to street violence, the miracle transplant that gave a dead heart new life, and the Cox Plate weather tips live from Moonee Valley. 9 News at 6.
Tom Elliott on Drive.
Susan Polito has just won a $250 Coles voucher. She purchased a ticket in the Royal Melbourne Home Lottery. We've got one more voucher to give away between 5 and 6 o'clock tonight. Go to rmhhomelottery.com.au. A two-car accident has occurred on Punt Road, the busiest road in Australia, I'm led to believe, near the intersection of Bridge Road. That'll be fun going home tonight. It's outbound. 2 lanes are closed. Joe, what's the word on the street?
Yeah, good afternoon, Tom. I've driven past the Melbourne Star. Been stationary at the lights, and it looks like it's not moving, and looks like there's people looking outside from the capsules up the top.
All right, we'll check that out, Joe. The Melbourne Star does move very slowly, and at a casual glance, it could be still. That's bad news, because, of course, it was 5 years ago when the original version of the Star stopped working on a very hot day. 2009, I think it was. Joe, we'll check it out. Thank you for the call. Paul, go ahead.
Yeah, hello, Tom. I've got a question for each of you guests. For Richard, in his opinion, who was the most ineffectual Labor leader or Prime Minister? And for Kelly, who was the most ineffectual Liberal Prime Minister or leader? And that's a pretty tough question for each, I guess. If they can't reach a conclusion about their own party, maybe they could reach a conclusion about each other.
Are we going to play this?
Yeah, I'll play it. I'll play it.
I bet you pick someone who's dead.
No, I won't actually. I'm not.
Okay,
you go first.
Okay, Kelly, least effective Liberal Prime Minister ever.
I would actually say Malcolm Fraser.
I knew you were going to say that.
He's been disowned.
That's because he's not a Liberal anymore.
Well, no, that's not the reason. The reason is I actually think he was given a huge mandate by the people. I think that he had a huge opportunity, and I think it was squandered. In truth, that's my assessment.
Malcolm Fraser.
Yeah, I think that was partial squib there.
Worst Labor.
Let's hear yours.
Worst Labor Prime Minister.
And don't go for someone who's dead, because you've got plenty of live ones to choose from.
No, that's not true. I don't have any live ones to choose from.
Yes, you do. Bob Hawke's still alive.
Bob Hawke is the
Kevin Rudd, Julia
Bob Hawke
Gillard.
is the great Australian Prime Minister.
You just said you had none to choose from.
In terms of the worst Australian...
Julia Gillard still alive? Kevin Rudd?
Look, it pains me to name a Labor
Paul
Prime
Keating?
Minister. Scullin is who I'm going to name.
Scullin?
Yeah.
Well, he's dead.
Well, he's dead, but it was the one-term government that we've really had since we kind of had elections between two parties, and I think that was he had a difficult thing to manage, which was the Great Depression, but he didn't manage it.
It was difficult to manage, wasn't it?
Yeah, but in terms of the internals of the caucus, it all fell over, and we know something of how it works.
Michael, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Tom, you were talking about the secrets of Talkback Radio.
Yes, I'm exposing them.
Good. I'll expose one for you because I know a bit about the caper. The most important secret is getting people to work for nothing. Talkback callers like me don't get paid. If you're the paid people behind the microphone ring up a politician or anyone for an interview, they don't get paid.
No.
So Talkback Radio is basically a form of usury where Fairfax makes money out of getting people to work for it and not paying them.
Yeah, spot on, Michael. There's quite a few of the staff that work here who are...
They're cheering.
Who are nodding away. I'm nodding too. Thank you, Michael. Alan, good afternoon.
I'd just like to raise, there wasn't rampant inflation, and unemployment is higher now under a Liberal government than it was under Whitlam period. So,
I think, to be fair, Alan,
unemployment's been higher. I know the numbers, Tom.
I agree with you.
About 4% inflation, about 5% unemployment. Peaked at that. We've got about 7% unemployment now. Please.
Well, we're up to sort of 17% inflation.
I know, but Alan does make a good point. I mean, unemployment up until about 77 was only about 2 to 2.5%.
That's absolutely true.
It was a golden era. Inflation was higher in the mid-70s.
But he did double it in the space of one 12-month period.
Well, the funny thing was, under Whitlam, house prices went through the roof. I've spoken to people who said that it was a very hot housing market, and I don't know why that was, but houses almost doubled in value in about 2 years, which is good if you owned one, but not so good if you were trying to buy one.
Yeah. And there's absolutely no doubt that unemployment has gone through the roof since this government came into power.
Now, very quickly, the NBN. I have said today, I think it is rapidly turning into a white elephant. Kelly, Malcolm Turnbull, he's in charge of it. Are you going to dump it?
We're not going to dump it, but we have been left with a total mess. You're absolutely right on that. We've been trying to fix it. Unfortunately, the Labor Party signed us up to all sorts of contracts. We're doing the best job we can to fix it, but it is costing the Australian taxpayer billions and billions of dollars.
Richard, do you think it'll be dumped?
Well, it's a great tragedy if it is. I mean, seriously, throughout my entire electorate, in a place like Geelong, the NBN is the future. It's what will enable a whole lot of people to engage with the world and live in a place like Geelong without having to live in a major city. And, really, for the NBN to be taken down the path that it now is an enormous tragedy. And it's a, short-sighted government which is making that call.
It's only my prediction. I don't know if it's going to happen. Kelly O'Dwyer, Richard Marles, talk to you again in 2 weeks' time.
Look forward to it.
96900 693 1332. Malcolm Stewart and Richard Arnold are next, right here on Drive.
3AW, supporting the Royal Melbourne Home Lottery. Get your ticket to win the luxurious Granville home. rmhhomelottery.com.au